Hey friends, it's Ruben with Hi-Fi MIDI. This is MODO Bass 2, IK Multimedia's major update to their MODO Bass VI. It's been a few years since I last reviewed it, and I was really interested in seeing what type of improvements or changes were made since I last reviewed it. But before I go on, I want to announce that IK Multimedia is letting me give a full MODO Bass 2 license away to a lucky winner. All you have to do is type hashtag MODO Bass 2 in the comment section of this video. I'll then create a list of all the names of everyone who commented, and then randomly draw the name of one lucky winner. The window for this drawing is only 24 hours, so if you want it, submit your comment on time. To win, you also have to be a subscriber of this channel. With that said, let's get into it. For those of you who don't know, most bass libraries are sampled, meaning they're recordings of an actual bass. MODO Bass 2 is not sampled, but modeled, meaning sounds are generated by sophisticated algorithms that mimic the physics of the actual instrument, electronics, and rooms in order to recreate a specific sound. The benefit of model instruments is that they typically have a small footprint and are great memory savers. The downside is that they use more CPU than their sampled counterparts and sometimes create an unpleasant artificial sound. That's not the case with MODO Bass 2. Let's take a listen. MODO Bass 2 comes with 8 new basses. So this is Punk Bass, which is based on a Fender Mark Hoppus bass. They also include a fretless bass, which is inspired by a Jaco Pastorius jazz bass. Next is a fretless Bassman, which is inspired by a Pino Palladino Music Man Stingray bass. Next, there is a Fusion J bass, which is inspired by a Marcus Mills jazz bass. Next, they have a horn bass, which is inspired by a Danny Electro Longhorn bass. Very interesting sound. Next, there's a studio upright bass, which is inspired by a jazz upright bass. And next, there's a rockabilly style bass. And then finally, aluminum, which is based off a Noah paraffina base. So all in all, you have 22 bases, and there's been a slight improvement of the other bases as well. And there's tons of new features on this library. One of the first things I noticed was that you have the option to choose between keyboard and bass neck view. In the old one, it showed both of them at the same time, but the keyboard part was a lot more compressed and it looked ugly. I think this is a nice improvement. The great thing about modeled instruments versus sampled instruments is that you have a lot more control over the nuances of the instrument's sound. For example, just in the main page, you have control over where you're picking. When you pick closer to the bridge, you get a twangier or a more bitey sound, whereas when you get closer to the neck, it starts becoming warmer and rounder and more harp-like. All you have to do is drag this, but you can also set this to a knob or fader, and it can move. You could even move the pickup location. And then combine them. I'm going to reset to the default. Now in the play style area, you can choose between finger, pick, or slap, and these are key switched. So C#0 chooses finger, D#0 chooses pick. And then F#0 chooses slap. Then you have the option to mute. And what I like about this is that you can control how much muting there is by percentage. So I've set this to CC15, which is on my keyboard. And the higher the percentage, the more muted it sounds. And you'll see the percentage reflected here and right here on the right. Let's hear that with pick. It's a great feature. You can also choose between strokes. So there's down. Let's say you have a pick and you're only down picking. Or if you're up stroking. Or if you're alternating, so if you're going down and up. That's going to produce a slightly different tone, but barely noticeable. The next part is the touch or scratch, depending on whether you're picking or finger picking. That's going to control how aggressive the playing is. So here's soft, normal, and hard. With pick, soft or light, normal, and hard. Now with slap, you can control at which velocity MODO bass automatically triggers the pull articulation. The pull is usually used with the higher strings, while slap is usually used with the lower string. I'm having to play it really hard to get that pull. As I lower it, I don't have to play it as hard to get the pull. I think that's a great feature. Now you can also choose to let the strings ring, so you don't have to play the sustain pedal. Or let off whenever you let off the key. I won't cover all the details of this plugin because it has a lot of features. I'm only going to concentrate on the ones that I think are very important and impressive. Detached noise is a good one. When you let go of the string, it produces a certain sound. And this is a really cool feature. So there's 2 fretless basses. However, you can, if you're on like a punk bass or the Fusion J bass or whatever, you can choose whether that's fretted or fretless. So here we're going to make the J bass fretless. You can also choose to make your bass between 4 and 6 string, and that's going to increase the range. In this case, it's all the way down to C. However, if you wanted to drop that even further, I'm going to switch to keyboard view so you can see. Drops it down all the way to B flat 0. You can also change the string action, so how high the strings are from the pickup. And this also changes the tone. So lower, it's going to change the harmonics. And then you can change the string type, round wound to flat wound. The gauge, heavy, light, medium. Whether it's broken in, old, or new. New is going to sound a little bit brighter. You can also change the tuning. Next, we have electronics. You can choose the bridge pickup, the volume of that pickup, neck pickup. You can change the pick sound. So let's say if you have it in pick mode. So if you're playing more metal, this is probably going to be more beneficial. You can choose whether it's passive or active pickups. They just have different tonal characteristics and behave differently. With passive, you usually take out tone. And with active, you can actually boost or drop frequencies. And then in the studio, this is really cool. You can choose the amp type, whether it's tube or solid state. Here's a gain, bass, mid, treble, a 9-band EQ limiter, also the pick settings again, stomp box output, and the amp output. You can control the individual pedals by clicking on them and choosing what type of effect you're going to add. So let's listen to chorus. Of course, within those effects, you have individual controls as well. And one of the biggest new things in this plugin is the patterns feature. This comes with 1500 MIDI patterns. And I love this type of system where you can start filtering it by categories like genre, the section of the song, the playing style, the length of the pattern, and the key and the signature. Let's listen to some of them. Let's listen to some funk. Now, if I like that one, all I have to do is drag it into my song, and it's there to play. And if I wanted to change the key, all I have to do is go into my MIDI editor, choose the played notes, drag them up. It's very simple to use. In the control section, you can select how your parameters are triggered, whether it's key switch, knob, or faders, or aftertouch. It doesn't matter. It's very easy to customize. And then MODO Base 2 comes with tons of presets which show the best that this can sound like. I think the sound is a big improvement over the last version. The last version, I liked finger and pick mode, but I didn't really like the slap. This slap does sound better. I like the amount of control that you have with it, especially the threshold setting. That's very practical. I love that they now include fretless bass and upright bass. Having all your instruments choosable within one plugin is the best way to go for me. The plugin is laid out very logically. It's easy to use. I've never had any issues with it in the past. I do wish that in the pattern section, you could choose by key, or that you could change the key within the pattern window. For example, if this one is in a specific key, a preset key, I wish that you could change it in here and then drag that into your DAW. As with all modeled instruments, I've always sensed that it's easy to tell that it's modeled versus sampled because there's a certain cleanness to it or lack of harmonic that gives it away. But in the case of MODO Base 2, there's so many effects that add to those harmonics that make it sound more natural. It blurs that line between sampled and modeled. But I think for $199, getting 22 basses and all these effects in one is a super great deal. Well, friends, thanks for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions about specs, I'm leaving the info in the description. Please comment, #MODOBase2, and subscribe to my channel if you want to be entered into this drawing. Hit that like button, share this video, leave a comment below, and I'll see you next time.